Well, welcome back again to Cassimotive, and in this video what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with you my thoughts on the cancellation and the death of a guest on the Jeremy Kyle show. As many of you will know, it's been circulating all over the papers, all over the social media, all over the internet, all over television, that this week the Jeremy Kyle show has been cancelled. And the episode that was filmed where the guest sadly passed away will not be aired. And that came from, of course, the CEO of ITV. So I wanted to give you my thoughts on this subject, and I wanted to share with you what I have learned that I believe that you can add in your life and can help you become a higher, fuller expression of yourself. So let's go through it and let me share with you my angle and my thoughts on the cancellation of the Jeremy Kyle show. The first thing that I would share with you is to recognize that this show, whether you like it or not, has been popular and has been on television for longer than the average show is usually on television. Most television, according to the research that I have done, lasts for about 8 years. The Jeremy Kyle show was on television for 14 years, meaning that the Jeremy Kyle show was on the air for that long because of the amount of people that watch it, because of demand, because of its popularity. And I would ask you and draw your attention to the fact that what I have learned is that many of us are attracted to these kinds of shows because they make us feel good. They make us look at the program and say, at least my life isn't that bad. At least my family is not that dysfunctional. And what I would share with you, and I want you to take away from this show, is you have to be so careful not to allow those kinds of circumstances and the kinds of programs that you watch, like Love Island, like Exes on the Beach, like Big Brother, that you don't allow them to make you or alleviate some of the void and the pain that you've been going through in your life. I believe that a lot of us, we use these programs as a way to justify not dealing with the realities of our own lives. We use them and say, yeah, but as comparisons, and say, yeah, but Cassim, look, at least I'm not on the Jeremy Kyle show. Yes, I know there's loads of dysfunction in my life and in my relationships and in my family, but at least we're not turning up like the people on the Jeremy Kyle show, and we're not arguing, and there isn't the cheating. And you have to be the kind of person who raises the standards and says, no, I'm not going to lower my standard and compare myself to that. I'm going to increase my standard. I'm gonna have my standard up here so that other people have to come to me, so that other people have to reach where I would like to be myself, whether that may be spiritually, whether that may be in terms of your character, whether that may be in terms of your vigor, your passion, your hunger, your vision, your desire to succeed. And I would encourage you to really step in the direction of raising your standard. Let me give you another word for standard: expectation. The word that I use for standard is expectation. Raise your expectation. Don't allow programs like Exes on the Beach, The Bachelor, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, all these programs. Don't allow programs like the Jeremy Kyle show to suck you into lowering your standards. Watch things that inspire you. Watch things that bring you up. You know, you guys know every single week I watch a movie which is an inspiring movie, or a movie that has some life lesson, right? That may be Aladdin, that may be it could be God, I've watched so many movies. Now I can't even think of anything off of the top of my head. The October Sky. It can literally be anything that is inspiring. And the reason why I watch these movies is because I want to ensure that I'm trying to raise my standards, that I'm trying to go after something which is bigger than myself, instead of lowering myself to where everybody else is. You've got to understand today that to be great really doesn't take very much. You understand that, right? To be fantastic, to actually be a titan, to live extraordinary, to be phenomenal, really doesn't take that much today. Do you know why it doesn't take that much? Because most people are not even operating at average. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like a titan, phenomenal, world class, most people are operating at like 4. Most people aren't even average. We're not even 5. And so all you have to do is have a slightly bigger vision, have a slightly higher standard for yourself, and people will think that you're amazing. People will think that you're phenomenal. But don't allow those standards to set as a precedent for where your capacity and what you go for. I was yesterday listening to an audio tape, and the guy who was in the audio tape, a guy called Dr. Miles Monroe, was explaining that when he was a young child, he went to his mum, he did like a test, and went to his mum, and he told his mum he'd got top of the class, he'd got 48. And his mum said, what do you mean you've got 48? His mum said to him, you got 48 out of what? You were the top of your class out of what? And the test was out of 100. He got 48 out of 100, but he had got the top. He had got the top mark. And his mum said to him, shut up. You don't be cheerful and happy about this, because you're saying you've got top of the class and you've done well, but the test was out of 100, not out of 48. And you saying that you've done well in comparison to others, and he said that his mum told him, number one, they should fire the teacher, and number two, he needs to raise his standard, because he's comparing his capacity and how well he's doing based on how well everybody else is doing, but everybody else is doing terribly. And so what I would share with you is, if look at your life and actually examine and say, look, is everybody else in my life average? Is everybody else even pushing? Is anybody else even trying to do well? Is anybody else even wanting to put a financial security around their family that nothing can get through? Is anyone around me trying to reach for greatness? Is anyone around me trying to become and manifest their dreams and their visions? Because if they're not manifesting, because I know that a lot of us were around people who are not manifesting their dreams, who don't want to achieve greatness, who don't want to work on their character, who don't want to improve their family's circumstances, who don't want to go beyond where the standard of the people around them. And you've got to be so careful not to fall into that trap. And a lot of people are. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson that I learned from the Jeremy Kyle show being cancelled is this. Decide what kind of person you're going to be and how you're going to use your platform. You know, many of us, we don't realize that every single one of us, our life, our brand, what we do is a platform for who we are. You see, I learned a lesson from Oprah about 3 years ago. Oprah taught me a lesson that has been life-changing for me. Oprah said that when she first started off doing her talk show, the Oprah Winfrey Show, when she first started off, she used to have everybody. She used to have people who were having arguments. She used to have people who were racist. She had to have people who were had murdered people and were serial killers. And she got to the point where she was, one time she had a bunch of racists come onto her show, a bunch of people who were part of the KKK come onto her show, and she realized that they were using her platform to get more people inspired. They were using her platform to get more people into the KKK. And from that day, she made a radical decision, and she said, I will no longer allow my platform to be used, right, in a negative way. And I'm going to use my platform, my show, as a way to empower people, as a way to encourage people. And the lesson that I wish for you to take, and the thought that I've been deeply thinking about when it comes to the Jeremy Kyle show, is that if you look at the Jeremy Kyle show, it is full of dysfunction. It is full of people having arguments. It's full of cheating. It is full of people fighting. It is people arguing. Jeremy Kyle did not use his platform and in his show as a way to inspire his audience, to put out positive energy into the world. And you and I have that capacity. what you do as a mother, what you do as a doctor, what you do as an accountant, what you do as working in Tesco's, that is your platform. It may not be your ultimate platform, but it is your platform that you should be using, and you have to decide how you're using it. Are you going to use it for the betterment of your colleagues, for the betterment of your clients, for the betterment of society, or are you allowing it to use you? Are you using it as Will Smith? I was studying Will Smith recently for a film that Aladdin. As I don't know whether you guys have seen my video that I did on the lessons from Aladdin, but Will Smith is in a new Aladdin movie as a genie, and I was studying him, and one of the things that a lot of people Will Smith is renowned for, is that he has a certain energy. He vibrates on a certain frequency when he's in a room. People basically know when he's around. And they were interviewing him, and they were like, why are you like that? And he said that when he very basically realized when he was younger that he had the ability to affect people, that when he walked into a room, he had the capacity to actually alter the energy of the room. And so whenever he goes into a room, whenever he meets people, whenever he's on a movie set, he brings the energy up, and he uses what he does and his energy in contribution and as a way to improve lives, as a way to add value to other people. And so my question to you excuse me, is how are you using your platform? You may be somebody who fixes the roads. You may be a boxer. You may be a hair cutter. You may be somebody who works in a shop. You may be somebody who works in a restaurant. Are you using it as a way to improve your world, as a way to improve other people's lives, as a way of a service? You all know what Martin Luther King Jr. said. Martin Luther King Jr. said that not everybody can be famous, but everybody can achieve greatness, because greatness is determined by service, is determined by what you do with what you got. So that's the second lesson that I would share with you. The last lesson that I would share with you that I took from the Jeremy Kyle show being cancelled is this. I've learned that we live in a world which Peter Drucker calls the era of the 3 C's, which is accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. What essentially this means is that the world, look at how quickly the world is accelerating. Like, look at technology, look at AI, look at how much the new iPhones are out. When you go on Reed or Indeed to apply for a job, look at how many people apply for that same job. Before, if you go back throughout history, go back even 50 years, if you and I applied for a job, there'd probably be maybe 3 or 4 people, and they'd all be from the same town as us. But now we are playing a global game. Literally people from India, Reading, the UK, London, all of these people from up north, they're all applying from the same job that we're applying for. So it's become a globalized world. It's also become really complex in that there is a lot of stuff about legislation. There is a lot of stuff about GDPR. There is a lot of stuff around politically correct stuff, things you can wear, things you can say and can't say, feminism, about calling in sick, the world is become so complicated about gender, like pronouns, what do you call a trans person, a gender person, what is appropriate to say to somebody, what's not homophobic, what can you say or can you do around women or men. The world is become really, really complicated. And as a result, what I want you to understand is that you are no longer safe. If you are still under the delusion that you can have the safety of a job and the company is going to stay for a long time and you've got you're safe, you're under delusion. And I want to really get this, and I'm using specific words here because I want to get this point across. I was researching companies that have failed recently, companies that have gone bankrupt. And I mean, you just can't make this up. I was looking down this list and I couldn't believe it. These are companies which are big companies. These are companies which are stable companies. You're looking at companies like, these are companies that have gone into bankruptcy, okay? These are companies like Debenhams, Ann Summers, Giraffe, Bright House, HMV, Toys R Us. These are not small companies. These are strong established companies, and all of them have gone into bankruptcy, right? All of them are shutting down stores. All of them are declining. And the reason why that is because the world is accelerating and changing so fast that a lot of these companies are not keeping up. And so what I want you to understand is that there is no safety anymore. So you need to start working on yourself. You need to start developing your leadership. If you've never read a leadership book, trust me when I'm telling you, start reading leadership books, because there is things about leadership that you need to understand. I didn't say management. I chose the word specifically, leadership. Don't buy management books, buy leadership books. Read everything that you can. Go on YouTube, because you need to develop that skill as we move into the 21st century. It is a single number one skill that I tell everybody who I know that they need to develop. Leadership. Not management, I said leadership. This means you need to start working on your skills, communication. You need to start working on sales, marketing. You need to have multiple streams of skills that you can gain on. Maybe you need to start learning about therapy. Maybe you need to start learning about coaching. Maybe you need to start getting a skill in your related field, but as a multiple background or backup, so that if something were to happen to the company that you work in, that it doesn't take you a long time to move into a different field, that you have a backup. Does that make sense what I mean by that? And I learned that from the Jeremy Kyle, because think about all those people who've been working on the Jeremy Kyle show for 14 years. All of them thought nothing could ever happen. The company's been around for 14 years. All of them have just lost their jobs instantly. Do you see what I'm saying by this? And I'm saying the same for people who work for HMV, Giraffe. All of them thought that they were stable in their jobs. And now all of them, these people, these companies are all shutting down. Toys R Us are shutting down. And all these people have started to lose their jobs. There are people who've worked for Toys R Us for, 20 years. And all of it's gone down the drain. And this will happen more and more and more as we move into AI, artificial intelligence. This is going to become an even more common occurrence. And you have to be so clever and so intelligent that you have to think ahead and think about this kind of stuff. Because if you don't, you're going to be in the same boat as the average person. And I don't want you to be in the same boat. I want you to do well. I want you to be successful. I want you to succeed. So those are the lessons that I learned from the Jeremy Kyle show. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you think about it in this way? I'm always keen to hear from you guys. So send me a message and comment below, and continue seeking to be your highest, fullest expression of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.